Well, this has to be one of the most stunning locations the Alpha Touring Challenge has ever visited. Welcome to round 4 of ATC13 at Phillip Island Circuit in Australia, and it is a beautiful day in Australia. The sun is shining, not a chance of rain in today's proceedings. And what are today's proceedings? Well, fourth round of the championship. Temps are a good bit warmer than they have been for the rest of the season, and that is not coincidence. We are in the southern hemisphere. It's summertime over here. We've been racing at tracks where it's been winter for pretty much the whole season, and now we flipped the script, and the driver's gonna have to deal with some extra tire wear and just in general a very different kind of surface than they've been used to racing on during this season. And in this season, it is currently Logan McKenzie who holds the advantage by 29 points over Dan McFarlane. We haven't applied drop weeks yet, but this gives you an idea of how these first couple of races have gone. And then we see Fuada Rijla is sitting in first in the Delta points, just ahead of Tianyi Chang. And then further down, you have Nate Kerr and JB DeJay in third and fourth in that class. And speaking of the Delta class, they have begun open qualifying. They're currently 3 minutes in, so they should have some laps set here. No valid laps yet, actually. Oh, we're seeing the first ones now. Evan Clavijo comes across the line, and he sets a 1:39.442. Fuada Rijla ekes him out with a 39.4 to start qualifying. This is a very sweeping track. Definitely something of a challenge in a front-wheel drive car where you are steering with the brakes, so not as much the throttle like you would in a rear-wheel drive car. So you're having to apply some different logic to get around these sweeping corners, especially the ones that decrease in radius a bit. But a lot of these drivers experienced this last week at Oschersleben. It was a very similar story. I think they did a good job of handling it there, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes down here. The Deltas get the first half of open qualifying all to themselves, and that is 10 minutes, with another 10 minutes to come for the Pro Alpha drivers. Right now, the only Deltas that have set a 39-second lap are Fuada Rijla, Tianyi Chang, and JB DeJay. There's 3 of your top 4 in the championship, so no surprise there. Right now, we are looking at Fuada Rijla of SRG. And let's check in on JB DeJay. He is coming through the middle part of the track now. We go on board with him. I believe that maybe Nigel Honegger in front of him. A lot of traffic on this lap for him. It's a tough corner to get around there, but it's flat out all the way from here. Had to get around Murray there on the apex. Going through the final corner, this is almost flat out. If you angle it right, you can get it flat out and really scrub the tires. So it'll be interesting to see how drivers handle that. And here comes Kyle Murray now that he has let that group by. He's starting his next flying lap. Tianyi Chang has just jumped to provisional pole with a 39.3, and you have Laubner jumping up there in the fourth with 39.7. Well, and Murray's going to go a bit wide there. That's going to invalidate the lap. So we'll look at our current provisional Delta pole sitter, Tianyi Chang, in the 66 for T0 Racing. And if I end up sounding a little strange today, still getting over the flu, as I'm sure a lot of people at this time of year are. But maybe not this time of year in Australia, because it's a nice summer day out here. T0 Racing using the Elantra this season. The Elantra's seen a sort of a miniature renaissance this season, I believe. Has really come into its own with a few drivers. think last season everyone was worried that the Veloster had a step on it, but the Veloster really difficult to drive. You come back to the Elantra and you can extract a lot of pace out of it just by being a smooth driver. Look at how much speed they carry through that final corner. Chang comes across the line. And he will not improve. Not a whole lot of improvements happening right now. Just 3 minutes left in Delta qualifying. Corey Laubner has entered pit lane. I see Lynn, DeJay, and Honegger all set faster lap times. And that puts them 6th, 7th, and 8th, respectively. Zachary Goddard might be on a small improvement here. He whips it out of the final corner. That looks fast. They are carrying a lot of speed out of there. And as he comes down to the start-finish, he just misses out on improving his lap. So we'll look to Perez. He's going through, this is really the last corner that you have to put the brakes on for, and then from here, it's mostly flat out. You just have to take a good attack angle to these corners. And through the final corner for Perez. Passing the DRS boards. And across the line. A 41.1, it is an improvement. It gets him closer to the drivers ahead. The drivers ahead are separated by 1/1000. McAllister and Gilbert. McAllister is actually an Australian, if this flag is correct, which I believe it is. So a home race for the 992. We'll keep an eye on him today. This is not his first ATC appearance, but it's nice to have a home race, especially at a track that we've never been to, happen in the first couple of appearances you've had. So not seeing improvements. There goes JB DeJay. He leapfrogs Jason Lynn, gets into 6th place. Now we look at Murray. Murray does not improve. Bramble does. Not improving position though. And we look back to Goddard off the final corner. And then I see Lewis Gilbert might be on an improvement. Goddard is not. The end of pit lane is probably full of Alpha drivers right now. Let's see if we can get a shot of that. Oh, yes. They are all about to exit pit road here. Ah, there we go. They've got 5 seconds. They have no Delta drivers. They're at risk of impeding. And the Alpha drivers are away. So here we go. The final Delta times are being set now. And I'm not seeing improvements. Lewis Gilbert ended up not improving on that lap. And now these guys all get to sort themselves out. So Tianyi Chang secures Delta pole. Oh my God, both of the yellow flag motorsport cars have decided to take a trip to the beach. That's Polasek and Mike D'Almeida. That looked like synchronized. They looked like they practiced that. We're waiting for these final Delta times actually. Kyle Murray may be about to improve. The last Delta driver, there's 2 others still on a lap. And Murray does not improve on that lap. So let's look to the Alpha drivers. I see Matthew Mayer here on his out lap. And that, I think that slide was indicative of how this track may catch some of these drivers out, depending on how the conditions fluctuate here. With these sweepers, if you don't get enough weight on the front tire, and you end up kind of in a no man's land where you don't have enough weight across the car at all, you're going sliding off. You've really got to get the front down so that you can grip up and pull yourself around the corner. If you only rely on the rears, that's what's going to happen to you. You're just going to slide off track. Look ahead to Edward Gorman, who is coming up. That maybe have been looking behind, but Edward Gorman off the final corner there. And we'll start to see these drivers put down their first lap. So we'll go on board with Gorman for his first flying lap at Phillip Island. Turn 1, you really have to carry as much speed through here as possible. Track out, get on the brakes hard so that you can hook it around. Turn 2, you go up and then you go down, and when you go down, that is when you get on the gas. Now it's a long and fast run down to the next corner, which is going to be hard. Hardest braking zone on the track, hairpin to the right. Gorman running into a little bit of traffic here, maybe. A lot of drivers stacked up. And now you have to use the banking here on the left-hander. You don't want to attack the apex until very late. The corner is longer than it feels. And then this is essentially the back stretch. Flat out. Until we reach this uphill left-hander where we have to prepare for a steep dive downhill into the second heavy braking zone on the track. It's really only heavy because of how steep that hill is. And then from here, we're running flat out to the line. Sometimes you're giving it a minor lift here or there. Right there, Gorman almost gets into the grass. And now he's going to run it around the final corner to complete that lap. We see Mayer and McKenzie set the same time. Bobby jumps up to provisional pole. Gorman drops in just behind Polasek, 1,000th off him. John Lazon goes second. Sarah Legge goes second. Mark Diamina 10th. Micah Hendricks takes second place now. It's a revolving door there. And there goes Hendricks through turn 1, closely following the 23 of Dan McFarland. Shink goes 11th with 39 dead. Now we wait for these Alpha drivers are much more closely packed than the Delta field was. So now we're waiting for them all to set the second lap, and we know the second lap will be faster. I see McKenzie's leading the whole field. He and Mayer do not improve in Sector 2, and Bobby also missing out on that, so an interesting development there. Polasek does find the pace. And now these guys will come around once again through the final corner for McKenzie. 5 minutes left in open qualifying for this race. It's the first ever visit that the series has made to Phillip Island. McKenzie does not improve, neither does Mayer. Bobby does, Polasek does, but I don't think he gained any positions. He stays behind McKenzie. Lazon set a purple first sector, but does not improve the overall lap, and Sarah Legge jumps his teammate, a 38.438. Dan McFarland has improved. He jumps to 5th. We look at Francois Shink as he comes off the final corner, looking for an improvement. Fleet Smith jumps up to 8th. Francois Shink stays where he is, a 10th off. So we look at Sarah Legge, our current provisional pole sitter. It's right now on front row lockout for ATR Argentos. He's going to let Dan McFarland by here, actually. So he's going to go on the next lap. See behind him Gorman and then one of the B4D drivers. It's not David Bauer. But this is David Bauer, and he is running just ahead of Lindsay Lynn. McKenzie and Polasek not finding improvements on this lap. Darnell might. He's coming through the final set of corners now. He's the next car back from McKenzie. The field is spread out quite a bit more. You're seeing a lot of outlaps here, And McKenzie goes to the pits as well. So a few Alpha drivers are trying to hop onto a new set of tires and go again. Such are the temps. Darnell does not improve on that lap. Yeah, pit lane is busy. This is definitely the busiest I've seen pit road in a qualifying session in a long time. But I think we're seeing why. Nobody who's stayed out is improving all that much. Let's look in on Spencer Clark. He comes across the line. He does not improve. Francois Schink fails to improve. James Carr, he's where is he? He's all the way down in 39th. He's got to get up there, and he does, into 15th for the Alpha driver. Raymond 2 finds 10th place, 38.8. And now there are only 2 minutes left in qualifying, so that's enough time for 2 more laps from everybody. Carr's going to go off track here. I feel like we're going to see a lot of that in the race. I hope they clean that gravel up before the start of the race. We'll look at John Lazon because he has just finished his out lap as one of the remaining drivers who's still getting up to speed after the pit stop. He'll have time for maybe 2 more laps. Everyone else after them, this is their final lap. He got into a little bit of a slide there in turn 1. Polasek just came... excuse me. Yeah, Polasek just came across the line. Did not improve. It's all yellow on the bottom of the screen. Fabi doesn't improve on that lap, but it looked like it was a scrubbed lap. Gorman fails to find pace. Mike D'Amita might have something going here. He's improving in the middle sector, and he does jump Schink with a small improvement. But Schink also has a green sector here. And out of the final corner, he will not improve. You won't see Lynn will up to 21st. Raymond 2 has a lot of pace in that Honda, looking for more, and he goes to 3rd. Raymond 2 all the way above everyone except ATR Argentos, and now Matthew Mayer across the line. What can he do in response? Are the fresher tires a better option here? Aaron Law about to set what would actually be his first valid lap. Michael Polasek has found a way to go purple in Sector 2. This may or may not be his final lap. It's going to be close. No, it will be his final lap. He's not going to get to the line in time. Lazon will have time to start one more lap. For Polasek, this is his last chance to get out of 10th. The defending champion still doesn't want to race this season. It's going to be difficult if he's starting back there. What's he going to do? Across the line, 4th place. That's a clutch lap. He needed that. Mark Darnell's next to cross, and then you have Gorman and Mike D'Amita. And I do not see improvements from anyone here except Mike D'Almeida. Dan McFarland's coming across now as well. Sarah Legge is on a double improvement, so we'll check in on him right as Mike D'Almeida comes off the final corner, and he will not be improving. He pulls to the side. Sarah Legge will not be improving. His lap is over. He pulls down pit road. So we have Fleet Smith. Matt Zepka, I do not think is going to be improving. Oh, but he does. Look at that. He finds the time in the final sector with a green Sector 3, jumping to 15th just behind his teammate, Francois Schink. Meanwhile, Fleet Smith abandons his lap, and John Lazon, he may end up abandoning this one as well. Let's see. And he's going to take it to the line. Let's see if he's got something. Law departs the track. And Lazon does not find an improvement, 3/10 off. That will end qualifying at Phillip Island. Manuel Saralegui and Gonzalo Fabi with a front row lockout. We'll be right back for the race here at Phillip Island. Stay tuned.
Are you ready? Okay, let's do it.
Just a few minutes remaining before the start of the race. 50 minutes around Phillip Island. Let's take a look at the starting grid for today's race. Manuel Saralegui and Gonzalo Fabi, they lock out the front row for ATR Argentos, with Raymond 2 pulling up third place for Breakfast for Dinner, just ahead of Michael Polasek by 4 1,000ths. Then you go another 5 1,000ths back, and you're at Micah Hendricks. So the whole field extremely tight here for the start of this race. And Lazon 6th, McFarland 7th, Mayer 8th, McKenzie 9th, and Fleet Smith will round out the top 10 for the start of this race. Gorman, Mitchell, the Almeida, Schenk, and Zepka, and then Carr. You have to go all the way back there to get to 16th, David Bauer 17th, and then the Delta pole sitter, Tiani Chang, in 18th overall, just ahead of championship rival Fuad Al-Rijla in 20th. Justin Rhodes splits those two apart. Then you have Clavijo, Yongsi Lin, Jason Green, Mark Darnell, Corey Lobner, JB DeJay, Jason Lynn, Nigel Honegger, Brian Saab, and Spencer Clark rounding out the top 30. Further back, Rick Meyer, Murray, Goddard, McAllister for starting 34th in his home race. Lewis Gilbert, Brian Perez, Eric Coons, Tyler Bramble, Aaron Law, Adrian Fedorowski, and Tyler Stuckey round out the 41 cars that are ready to go here at Phillip Isle today. And that is quite the impressive grid from Fedorowski gridded in the back to Sarah Leggy gridded in the front. We now just wait for the starting lights. Should be less than 20 seconds before these guys get ready to go, and I think they're about to get ready to go now. We await the green lights. And Sarah Leggy leads them off here at Phillip Island. He will take them down to doing the first turn here at Phillip Island. It's going to be a high-speed corner 2 on the inside. 3 wide for second place there with Micah Hendricks in the middle. They'll come around to turn 2. Hendricks has slipped out of there, so it's Polasek up the inside for third place on Raymond 2. And now they will loop around to one of the 2 strongest braking zones on the track. And it will be Sarah Leggy leading them down there. Hendricks on the inside of Lazon. 2 has slipped back to 6th place now. Going side by side with McKenzie. I see Tianyi Chang is still in the lead of the Delta class, but it's Evan Clavijo who has slipped into 2nd place. Everyone taking it easy through here. You have to go 2 wide. It's a little delicate. And now down what is the back stretch, but it is 2 sweeping full speed corners. It is Sarah Leggy, Fabi, Polasek, Hendricks, and Lazon, your top 5 right now. And now into the second heavy braking zone. And that is John Lazon looking up the inside of Hendricks, and he's not going to win out for right there. So that is Sarah Leggy will lead the field around for the first time here at Phillip Island. Then you have Bobby Polasek, Hendricks, and Lazon coming off the final corner. And a couple of the SRG guys going wide back there. And then you have Fleet Smith and Francois Schenck going wheel to wheel. Down to turn number 1 at top speed, the 2 Hondas. Schenck has the inside line. Is that the preferred line? It looks like he's going to be able to slot ahead of... Oh, no, there goes Damon Mitchell. He missed that corner a little bit. Going to rejoin, thankfully, in a pretty open spot there. Doesn't lose too much time on the drivers ahead. We look further back, and it's Evan Clavijo. He has slipped, he's gained 5 spots in this first lap, and he now leads the Delta class. Tianyi Chang is behind with front end damage. Edward Gorman looking for a move on Mark Darnell. He will have to stay behind. Just behind there, you have Corey Lobner and JB DeJay going wheel to wheel. Oh, and more trouble behind. I see Eric Coons in trouble. He's gotten into a slide, and some of these guys have stacked up further back. You see Gareth McAllister go through there. We look back to DeJay and Lobner because they are still going at it. They are going to be entering the left-hander here, so DeJay will have the small advantage. Lobner's going to go wide, and DeJay goes through for 5th in class. Behind that is Spencer Clark tucking in behind Corey Lobner. So we'll jump back to the front of the field. Manuel Sarah Leggy has his teammate Gonzalo Fabi right on his back bumper. And the question is, how much will these drivers fight? They will fight some into turn 1. The teammates are having a little go at it. Bobby tucks back in. Michael Polasek directly behind. Looking for that first win of the season. There's Fleet Smith still looking at the back of Francois Schenck. Now slips up the inside. A nice move through the second corner, but he hasn't finished it off yet. He will now. 4 minutes into this race so far. And what we're seeing is the drivers still looking for a place to settle down into as this race sort of begins proper. Schenck now under pressure from one of Smith's teammates. That's David Bauer. Bowers trying to take advantage of this little situation. He looks to the left of Schink and gets a nose in there for the full speed sweepers here at the backside of the track. But I don't think he's going to be able to keep the nose in there. Schink's going to get ahead and close that door. So we'll continue. Most of the field looks like it's held together fairly well. Look back at Brian Perez. He was just looking at the back of Adrian Fedorowski for 15th in class. And back up to Micah Hendricks, who leads this little group of John Lazan and Logan McKenzie. The two SRG drivers of Dan McFarland and Matthew Mayer sit further back. Now, McKenzie has gained 3 spots since the start, and then Polasek, Hendricks, and Lazan are all up 1. Hendricks going to go around Lazan out of the final corner into turn number 1. They are going to go at it for 4th place. Oh, and a little bit of contact. Hendricks is able to slip back behind without letting McKenzie in there. He opened the door for a moment. Now Matthew Mayer goes off. He slides into the grass. That allows, that was Dan McFarland. That allows Mayer and 2 to go on through. Hendricks battling. He's got past Lazan, but now dealing with McKenzie around the outside. McKenzie has to go for this because he's got to also get around Lazan. Oh, and a little bit of contact there. Lazan flashing, maybe Hendricks not liking that he ended up getting put into the clutches of McKenzie there. But that is Hendricks up to 4th, McKenzie up to 5th. Gonzalo Fabi's under some pressure here from Michael Polasek. These guys start fighting. Hendricks and McKenzie could creep back up there, but it would take a little bit of time. That gap right now just over a second, but it's dropping, and it's dropping fast. The leaders are not setting a crazy pace here. Look back to Fuad originally. He is behind Jason Green, ahead of Edward Gorman. In the battle for the Delta podium, JP DeJay is lurking in the background with the pole sitter Tianyi Chang, who has dropped 6 positions overall since the start of this race. Evan Clavijo currently has a nearly 5-second lead over Jason Green. He has James Carr and Justin Rhodes lurking behind. They are not Delta drivers, so that Delta lead looking nice and secure at the moment. Aaron Law on the back of Lewis Gilbert. This is Audi versus Audi. Will he do something down into turn number 1? Bump drafting Gilbert all the way, and decides to think better of it. So we'll go back up front here. I'm seeing Matthew Mayer going around John Lazan. Raymond 2 is going to try and look for an angle here. And he thinks better of it, backs off. Whoa, that looked like a little bit of contact between Dan McFarland and Fleet Smith. They're still driving okay. I don't see any damage on McFarland's car. A battle for the lead developing between teammates. Bobby once again not going on the attack. Gets there for a moment when he decides to back out. Hendricks has lost ground on those guys. Now Bowers looking for a pass on McFarland. And McFarland going wide. I think something may be wrong with his car after the contact there. He's been driving a little strangely ever since. I think there may be something wrong with the suspension. There is some right front damage, so it's not unscathed. We'll go on board with him. Let's see if we can discern any. Oh, it looks like he is peeling off, and he is. He's got suspension damage, so he will have to take an early pit stop. And down pit entry just under 9 minutes through this race. He'll be hoping that he is inside of the pit window. Lazan and Mayer going at it into turn 1. Mayer on the inside, Lazan on the outside. That's transitions into the inside for turn 2. Can Mayer hold it around the outside? I don't think he can, and Raymond 2 is going to follow him through here. Will Raymond go for a move on his teammate? I don't think he will. So we look back to the leaders, and they're all stacked up now, and Micah Hendricks has cut down to within a second of Polasek. McKenzie has been doing his duty, sitting back there, not attacking Hendricks. He hasn't gotten too close. But these guys look like their focus is to catch the top 3 right now. They've opened a gap to Lazon, to Mayer further back as they have dual for position. Pete Smith right on the bumper of Mayer. He could go for something here if he looks. He pushes out wide. He's looking for something. Now goes back left. Mayer kept in the middle of the track and throws Smith off, and that allows Schenk to get up the inside. Will Schenk have the momentum coming through the final corner? I think he will. Right on the back bumper of Smith. I think he actually may have reached him a little too early because now he's not going to have the momentum heading down to turn 1. We'll have a little bit of slipstream. I don't think enough to do anything into the corner. He stays back there in 10th. For the top 10, all still very close together. Fabi and Saraleghi have switched, so Fabi, the leader of this race now. And they did switch on the last lap, but that is not Michael Polisek's primary worry because he's been caught up. Yongsi Lin and Matt Zepka going at it for 13th position. Lin ahead of Zepka, defending to the right. Keeps the position. Behind them, that is Delta leader Evan Clavijo in the 187. And further back, I'm seeing Edward Gorman. He's slipped behind JB Dejay there. And something happened here because Green and Al-Rijla just opened up a little bit of a gap. They're still hunting Clavijo, who is now 6 seconds ahead of 2nd and 3rd in the Delta class right now. We look back to Lewis Gilbert, Brian Perez, Aaron Law, Gareth McAllister. They're all battling for 13th in class. This is a very tight field here. Perez looking for some kind of angle. He could go up the right side here, thinks better of it. Let's Gilbert take the corner. Just looking to get into some kind of rhythm back here, start picking up a couple of spots. Take advantage of mistakes that other people are making. He's going to get up the inside of Gilbert here through the final corner. And he will eke out that position, and that allows Aaron Law to get alongside as well. And don't forget about McAllister. Gilbert may be about to lose 3 positions here. And he does, heading into turn 1. I just saw that Damon Mitchell went off track. Lost a couple of positions there. I think Clavijo, Zepka, and Carr all went by. And looking further back to this little group again, Law and Perez now going at it with McAllister looking for a way through. Law on the left side into the heavy braking zone. Law, for a moment, looked like he was going to be ahead of Perez, but he lost the grip mid-corner, and Perez slips back ahead into 13th position in class. So look back up front. Florida Rijla has suffered some front-end damage. He is heavily beat up. He's got to limp that thing to the pits. Gorman goes by. Corey Lobner goes by, and now there's another car with heavy damage, but maybe not as heavy as Fouon's. Fouon trying to throw a little block there, and they come together at the apex, and that allows Nigel Honegger to get through. Zachary Goddard goes through. Will Al-Rijla pit? Surely he has to. Kyle Murray, his SCRG teammate, will go around the outside, and there is another car coming down pit lane a little early because of damage. Evan Clavijo under pressure from Matthew Zepka into turn number 1. Zepka into a little bit of a slide, and that's going to allow James Carr to come around the outside, put up the inside, and now Zepka into another slide. The car coming out from under him. He loses a spot to Mitchell. He loses the spot to Justin Rhodes. He almost, if you go completely off there, you are gone quite a bit. So good on him to keep it somewhat on track. We look back up front. Gonzalo Fabi, 14 minutes into this 50-minute race, leads Saraleghi, leads Polasek. Hendricks and McKenzie have not made inroads.
We look back to Carr, who is immediately applying pressure to Damon Mitchell. Adrian Fedorowski has just gone around Mitchell Rickmeyer for 10th in class. Fedorowski is up 12 spots since the start of this race. Started 40th, sitting in 28th overall. That 212 racing car is putting on the jets in this one. Look back to Bobby. He comes around the final corner here at Phillip Island. 15 minutes have elapsed. And we continue. Will Saraleghi go for something here? Bobby moves to the left side. Saraleghi decides better of it. The teammates are probably not wanting to fight too much with Polasek right on top of them again. Previously when they swapped, they had opened somewhat of a gap on Polasek and had some room to play. Jason Green and Mark Darnell and JB DeJay all heading down to turn 1, battling for 18th overall. And it'll be Breen on the outside taking that position, and Saraleghi through turn 2 has gone around Gonzalo Fabi, and they managed to find space to play with despite Polasek being right on top of them. And now McKenzie trying to go around the outside of Hendricks into the next corner. Here they go battling for 4th place. McKenzie will just get around the Croc Promotions driver. As he finished that move, I think he has, and they're only a half second off the leaders now. That is now 5 positions gained for McKenzie. Another fast mover in this race is, well, hold on here, because Hendricks is looking to come back at McKenzie. On the left side, into the second heavy braking zone. McKenzie will lock that one down, and Polasek missed the apex there, so he loses a lot of ground to 1st and 2nd place, and McKenzie and Hendricks are now right on top of him coming through the final corner. But speaking of big movers, Yongsi Lin has gained 10 spots since the start of this race. He started 22nd. He's opened a big gap to those cars behind, Clavijo, Mitchell, and he will be hunting Bauer for his foreseeable future in this race. Mitchell has the pace. Will he look to the right side? Will he go for a move on Clavijo into turn number 1? The Audi clambers over the curb, and he has to back out of it. Just over-rotated it a little bit, I think. We look up front, we see John Lazon and Raymond 2, and then Matthew Mayer and Fleet Smith getting into little duels here for 6th place and 8th place respectively. If Lazon and 2 don't fight too much, they're not that far off the lead pack. Anyone could still win this race, I think, that is in the top 10, which is crazy. We're 17 and a half minutes in. We have some really fast drivers up front. They just can't break away. And I'm seeing Mike D'Almeida. He's lost 18 positions since the start of this race. I'm not sure why he's back there. Maybe a pit stop. He sits in 31st. We'll keep an eye on him, his progress back there. Clavijo, your Delta leader, now has a nearly 9-second advantage over Jason Green. I don't want a commentator's curse Clavijo here, but we have seen this situation before where he's opened up a big lead in the Delta class, and about halfway through the race, something happens. And I'm hoping that does not happen this time. Right now, all he has to do is keep it on track, because that is a massive lead in class. You can see on the map, he's mixed up with the rest of the Alpha drivers. And then you get back to 18th overall, and the rest of the Delta class begins with Jason Green and the others. We look to Michael Polasek because he has been under some pressure from McKenzie and, by extension, Micah Hendricks. And McKenzie may go for a move here as they come around into this braking zone. McKenzie goes right, and he will put a nose in, but Polasek outbrakes him. Stays in 3rd. They fight too much. ATR Argentos could open up an even bigger lead here. 1 second gap. But if you're McKenzie, if you're Hendricks, you might be a little worried you're going to lose them anyway if you don't try and get around Polasek.
Look to Adrian Fedorowski. He's crept up to the back of Tianyi Cheng, the Delta pole sitter. These two meet now. Cheng still nursing this damage, and Fedorowski will go around him. Up ahead, JB DeJay and Mark Tarnell. They are going at it, wheel to wheel, through the back straightaway. I think DeJay has the advantage, and he does. And I see Evan Clavijo's off track. He has heavy damage. It's the commentator curse. It was within a couple laps of me saying something. Can he limp that to pit lane? No, he will go ahead and tow the car. So Jason Breen assumes the Delta lead. JB DeJay is second place, and Corey Lobner is third. And David Bauer will come down pit road. I think this is the first scheduled pit stop where someone has not been trying to heal some kind of damage. Michael Polasek is again under pressure from Logan McKenzie heading down here. Just over 20 minutes into this race, there is a mandatory tire stop, so maybe these drivers are going to start picking and choosing a time to stop as Polasek lets McKenzie through there. McKenzie gets the job done, and he is onto the podium after starting in 9th place. None of the drivers that he has passed have gone to pit road. They've all been overtakes, so he is not actually up there. That is not some kind of pit lane befuddlery, tomfoolery, if you will. We look back to Kyle Murray, the Scot, making a move on Nigel Honegger, but he went a bit deep, and Honegger's going to swap him back, give him a little shove on the corner exit. And they continue battling for what is 5th in class. That's Goddard. Zachary Goddard has gained 11 positions since the start of this race, 7 in class. He is moving. There's a couple of big movers in this race. You have Lynn, you have Goddard, where is Fedorowski? He's only a couple cars behind this group, and he's gained 16 in this race. 2 extra points go to the driver who gained the most spots. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be Fedorowski. James Carr has elected to make this his time to come down pit road. Drivers have to take at least 1 mandatory tire change, so fuel doesn't really matter here. Zepka and Justin Rhodes going at it for position 12, and in turn 1, it's Rhodes with the advantage. We look back to Kyle Murray. Heading to turn 1, he'll look to the right of Zachary Goddard, continuing this battle. I'm a bit surprised Tianyi Cheng hasn't pitted yet to try and fix the damage he has. We are well within the pit window. Edward Gorman has come down pit road. Aaron Law, Adrian Fedorowski. And Carr, yep, there he goes. He will exit pit lane. And you'll see this pit lane exit's a little dicey. It puts you right onto the racing line, but there is an alternate one. There is no penalty for taking it, and James Carr has decided to take it. So he goes around the outside there and rejoins on the outside line of turn 1. We look to Corey Lobner. He's under pressure from Damon Mitchell, and Mitchell goes around the inside of the 3rd place Delta driver. And we look back to Kyle Murray, still hunting Goddard just before the pit cycle. We'll go on board with Murray. Hard to find a racing line to actually pick and drive through this part of the track. He's going to hang out on the inside and then go attack the next apex hard, trying to get up to the back of the JC Sim Sport driver. Will either of them hit pit lane on this lap? They will not, but Fleet Smith will. He is up on the jacks. You see the other drivers go by. There go Kyle Murray and Zachary Goddard down to turn 1. Murray on the outside line this time. He will be a nose ahead as they enter the corner, and Goddard actually tucks in. Murray takes the position. And now the field is all shuffled. We've had about 10 cars come down pit lane now. Here comes Tyler Bramble to make it another.
Look to the leaders. John Lazon and Raymond 2 have been running around here, not battling. Probably just waiting for pit stops. I see 2 using his windshield wipers. I'm sure having to run this close behind Lazon is kicking up a ton of dirt onto his windshield. On board with Lazon, looking back at Raymond 2. And Lazon on the inside of the track. He will come down pit road. And the whole B4D family is coming one car at a time. We saw Carr, then we saw Smith, now it's Lazon. And will anyone join him on this lap? I don't think so. We look back to McKenzie, who has slowly been creeping back up to Sarah Leggy. The ATR Argentos cars have not fully escaped the purview of McKenzie, Polasek, and Hendricks. Where will Lazon exit? He's still up on the jacks. I see Fleet Smith is coming through the final 2 corners now. Jason Lynn is on pit road. And Logan McKenzie has caught to the back of Sarah Leggy. Sarah Leggy making mistakes and allowing the Yellow Tide Racing driver to get right up onto his back bumper. That has stacked them all up here right before pit stops. It makes you wonder if one of them is going to make a move now. And John Lazon did come out ahead of Fleet Smith, about a second and a half ahead of his teammate. Stay locked in here. Go on board with Polasek. Will any of these guys decide to come in? Bobby will stay out. Sarah Leggy, McKenzie, they all stay out for another lap. We look back to Kyle Murray, still working on the back of Zachary Goddard. Will he be close enough to try something here? Hendricks and Raymond 2 did come down pit road, so some of the leaders are now choosing to come down. 2 coming down the lap after his teammate John Lazon did. We're past the halfway point of the race, but these drivers could probably take their fuel tanks all the way inside of 10 minutes if they so choose to do. I'm not sure that made sense, but the tire change, I mean, they can really place that anytime in the race they want, is the point. So we could see some drivers go very late. We're looking at Raymond 2 and Micah Hendricks on pit road. There went Goddard and Murray into turn 1 again. And this time Murray will have the advantage through the turn. Micah Hendricks exiting onto the track now, ahead of Gareth McAllister, behind Brian Perez. John Lazon is almost 3 seconds back from him, so a little bit of a gap opening up there with the overcut from Micah Hendricks. Fleet Smith working on the back of Brian Saab, really working on the back of Brian Saab through turn 2. He's been separated a bit from Lazon from 2. Looks left, looks right. Now on the brakes, can he get the 4OG driver? Yes, he can. He can get him alongside, and he can get by him. That is in 25th overall right now. The whole field shuffled from pit stops. The Delta leaders have not chosen to come in yet. Jason Breen, JB DeJay, Matthew Mayer, and Francois Schink have come in on top of each other, and Schink may have actually gotten front end damage from that entry. He may have slammed in the back of Mayer. I don't know if he had that before. He'll be able to get it repaired right here. And he got up on the jacks a bit earlier than Mayer. That is going to be a close run off of pit lane. Sarah Leggy, McKenzie, Polasek, they all stay out. Mitchell, Honegger, and Tianyi Chang will finally come down pit road to get that damage repaired. We look at Francois Schink. He just got let off the jacks, and he's going to beat Matthew Mayer off pit road. A great job by the SIA team to get the tires installed. He got them jacked up early. They come out in the midst of all of this fighting. Raymond 2 goes by. Fleet Smith just goes by. But I think the overcut has gotten them overall closer to this group. And that is a big win for Shink. He'll be right in that mix. You see Lewis Gilbert fighting with Raymond 2 here. Gilbert has not pitted. Anyone from Mitchell Rickmeyer ahead has not pitted at this time yet. Gilbert defending. Raymond going around the outside, really swinging it big, and he will get a nice run off the corner, and Fleet is going to try and follow him through. Gonzalo Fabi, your leader on pit road. The rest of the top guys stay out. And everyone works their way past Lewis Gilbert there. Gareth McAllister going wheel to wheel with John Lozano. A little touch for the hometown guy, and he goes off track into the gravel. He's going to keep it out of the wall. That looked like a lot of net code there, unfortunately, but he manages to keep it on track. Gilbert gets side by side with him, and neither of them have pitted here. Breen, DeJay, Murray, and Goddard, the entire Delta top four has come down pit lane. That leaves Mitchell Rickmeyer, the sole Delta driver who has not pitted. So he'll take the lead of the Delta race for the moment. Sarah Leggy has these guys all stacked up. And if you're Fabi, having Sarah Leggy back these guys up to secure a win, not a bad strategy. Not sure if that's what they've discussed, but either way, Sarah Leggy is certainly struggling to keep both these guys behind him. Green and DeJay are on pit exit. McKenzie looking for a move, thinks better of it. Breen stays ahead DeJay on the exit of pit road. And now coming to pit entry, it is Sarah Leggy and McKenzie coming down pit lane. Polasek will stay out, so he'll go ahead and lead that lap. And wow, McKenzie's right on the back of him. They are right on top of each other. That's even closer than Shink and Mayer were. And there they come to a stop in their stalls. Look back to Shink and Mayer. And these guys are all in the same order as last time we looked at them. Michael Polasek and Justin Rhodes, Mitchell Rickmeyer, Gareth McAllister, Lewis Gilbert, the only drivers that have yet to pit in this race. Gonzalo Fabi going by everyone on exit of pit lane. Going by Sarah Leggy. Sarah Leggy is very far ahead. They're both very far ahead. There is McKenzie. And I think we are about to see a shakeup in the makeup of this race. And that has to do with the big gap that Fabi and Sarah Leggy now have. That gap, I think, is the result of them failing to change a tire, which is mandatory. That would mean, we'll confirm, but that would mean that they are out of the running for first place. Mitchell Rickmeyer on exit of pit lane now. JB DeJay, Corey Laubner go by. There goes Nigel Honegger. And Kyle Murray, Adrian Fedorowski, Tianyi Chang all fly by right there, battling for 5th place in class now. And Murray has done a great job gaining 7 spots over the course of that cycle. Fedorowski's still up 14. I saw someone was off track. Uh-oh, Murray, we cut away for a second and he goes wide, so he loses the spots to Fedorowski and Chang. Here comes Fuad Al-Rijla, but I don't think he's going to get there in time. Michael Polasek is on pit road, so we're going to look to McKenzie because he's the first driver who fulfilled the tire change. So he may be your de facto leader. Whoever wins this race off of pit road, will it be the undercut? Will it be the overcut? Polasek is out of his pit stall. And on exit, there comes McKenzie. There goes McKenzie into the provisional lead of the race. And Micah Hendricks is going to get by Polasek as well. Polasek spent 2 extra seconds in his stall compared to McKenzie. 1 extra second in his stall compared to Hendricks. That's interesting. I wonder what the result of that difference is. I wonder if he didn't get stopped as quickly, didn't get started as quickly. Justin Rhodes has exited pit lane and he pulls in behind Edward Gorman. And that ends the pit cycle. He was the final driver who had not pitted. Matthew Mayer now attacking Francois Schenck for 9th place. Mayer started in 8th. He would certainly like to gain a couple of these spots back. Get some points for SRG. He and McFarland haven't had the best of days. McFarland has lost 7 since the start of this race. He had the damage earlier that caused him to pit really early. Well, he's climbed back up to 14th. It's been a good recovery. But still a bit down from 7th place where he started. Back to Schenck now. He's keeping Mayer behind him. Oh, and John Lazon losing out to Raymond too, and now you have a whole bunch of breakfast for dinner, second breakfast cars all grouped up here. Whoa, this is a huge just group of cars. Schenck gets into the back. Upfleet Smith there gives him the little nudge that he needs to get alongside him into the final corner. Through goes Schenck, a little contact, they get sideways, he loses the momentum, that's going to allow Mayer to get through actually. He's going to shove Fleet Smith down the straightaway. Will he go for a move of his own into turn 1? Not far enough alongside to try anything, but these guys, this whole group of cars from 6th to 10th, all fighting extremely hard for this. See McKenzie going around a lapped car ahead. That's Tyler Bramble. Behind him, you have Hendricks and Polasek going at it for what is 2nd place. Hendricks allowing Polasek to the inside here. He does that on purpose because he wants the left side going into the next corner. Let's see if it works out for him. Polasek holding it around the outside, but he just can't do anything out there. The Audi pulls through. Further back, no changes through the corner in that group. We look at Jason Breen. He's now opened a 2.5 second lead on JB Dejay for the Delta victory. They're running similar times. A small mistake could change the complexion of this race. Breen does not have as comfortable of a lead as Clavijo had, but he's still got to keep it on track all the same. We look to David Bauer. He's trying to hold off Dan McFarland, who is trying to continue his recovery drive. Micah Hendricks will be under pressure going down to turn 1. Polasek is right on him. Which direction will Polasek go? Will he go left? Will he go right? Hendricks is staying to the left side of the track. Polasek will not attack into turn 1. Croc Promotions Audi continues, and we have just learned Dan McFarland did not have the fuel to make it to the end of the race. It's unfortunate, but I suspected as much when he pitted just 8 minutes into the event, and he will come down pit road for a splash and dash to end the race. We're going to jump back to Hendricks. Still nothing Polasek can do. They currently have a 1.8 second gap to McKenzie. That's grown slightly since they exited pit road, and it's now 2 seconds. McKenzie was over a half second faster than these two in the last lap. So Polasek wants a shot at the lead there. He's going to have to get around Hendricks ASAP. McFarland has exited pit road right in the midst of this battle amongst Delta drivers. That's Kyle Murray, Mitchell Richtmeyer, Brian Perez, and Jason Lynn. And now I see Adrian Fedorowski has come back on track. He went wide at turn 2, and now this whole group is on top of him. Kyle Murray goes through. And he will be the only car that he'll lose a spot to off of that. But that has put even more drivers into this little group. And Just 11 minutes to go in this race. Fabi Saraleghi, they lead, but they did not fulfill the mandatory tire change. To give you an idea of what effect that's going to have, that is a 40-second penalty, I believe. As a result, it would drop them somewhere outside of the top 10. It's McKenzie, Polasek, and Hendricks dueling for the top spot right now. Murray goes wide on corner entry here, and Fedorowski is going to try and slip in. McFarlane going on the right side of the 212 Racing driver. Can he hold it around the outside of the final two corners? Perez is going to try and come through here. And they are all stacked right on top of each other. On board with Perez, wheel to wheel with Alpha driver Dan McFarlane down the front straightaway. Now he's got the momentum on Adrian Fedorowski. 9 on the left side. This is for 7th in class between Fedorowski and Perez. And Fedorowski's going to go through. McFarlane and Perez almost touch. We hit the 40-minute mark. And now Jason Lynn trying to take advantage here. He gets alongside Dan McFarlane. And McFarlane having some trouble with the Delta drivers today. They're eating him up. Mitchell Richtmeyer wants to get involved in this. He looks to the right side of Jason Lynn. Brian Perez looking for a move on Adrian. But Adrian goes for the defense. He goes a little deep, though. So Perez will slip up the inside. And a nice move from him to get by. Richtmeyer on the right side of Jason Lynn. Lynn goes in deep. And he will stay ahead of Richtmeyer for the moment. So we look back up front, and Polasek has gotten around Hendricks, and the hunt is on for McKenzie. It's a 2-second gap right now. And there are 9 minutes left. Michael Polasek has not won a race yet this season. He's got 2 seconds to close in a little over 8 minutes. It's not exactly an easy task here. We'll keep an eye on it. Look at that group behind them, though. Raymond, 2, leads a huge row of cars. Lazon, Smith, Mayer, and Shink. They're under no danger of getting caught by anybody or catching anybody. It's 6th to 10th, and they're battling for it. No group of cars is closer. We look back to Brian Perez, who's now actively working the outside of Kyle Murray, but he goes a bit wide, and now McFarlane comes back at him. Fedorowski's going to try and go through as well, and I think that he will. It's going to be close as they come down to the corner. Oh, now McFarlane putting on the defense, keeping Fedorowski on the outside. The 22 versus the 23, and the 23 gets ahead. And the 22 stays ahead of the 9. Now, here we go down to turn 1. Will Smith try something on Lazon. He's very close, but he thinks better of it. Michael Polasek just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:38.6. He was 0.5 faster than McKenzie last time around the circuit. At that pace, it will be close. At that pace, he could catch McKenzie by the end of this, but it would be on the last lap. The 1.9 second gap still. But at that pace, he would be on the back bumper of McKenzie to start the final lap. We look to Damon Mitchell, who is battling with Matt Zepka. This is for 15th overall. 7 minutes to go. Audi versus Honda. Mitchell down 4 spots from the start. Zepka right where he started, 15th. We'll be able to get close enough to attack back right there. We look back to Fleet Smith, who's lost a little bit of ground to teammates ahead, and now has to think about Mayer behind. Mayer and Shink both getting as far left as possible so they can really attack that apex and stay close to Smith down the front straightaway. Raymond 2. This is This is a lot to keep behind you, to know that if you make a mistake, you're going to have a train run on you. But at the moment, he's conducting that train quite nicely. 6 minutes to go. Polasek has gained even more time on McKenzie. He was another half-second faster on that lap, 0.6 faster even. The car has come alive for him, but will it be too late? Based on where they are on track right now, we've probably got 3 laps to go, including this one, maybe 4. That is enough time for him to catch up to the Yellow Tide Racing driver. It's a 1-second gap right now. Zepka gets passed by Mitchell into turn 1. And Mitchell holds on to it. We look back to Brian Saab and Fuad Arijla. Saab trying to go around the outside of Arijla out of the final corner. This is for a top 10 in the Delta class, and Saab is through. And speaking of the Delta class, Jason Breen, he currently does not have a very big lead over JB DeJay. Adrian Fedorowski is off track. Big damage, and his day of climbing the field may be done. He will have to tow. I see that front right is destroyed. We look at Corey Lobner and Tianyi Chang battling for 4th in class. And then Nigel Honegger is on the podium in 3rd. But back to the Delta lead. JB DeJay 1 second off of Jason Breen. Michael Polasek less than a second off of Logan McKenzie. Both class leads in jeopardy here with just 4 minutes to go at Phillip Island. Well, the first race of Phillip Island, this one has been full of it all. And it will end with the first car across the line not winning this race, I think. Polasek now 7/10 back. He was another 6/10 faster than McKenzie last time around the circuit. I think, I mean, whatever he's done, whether the car's come alive, he's found the pace, McKenzie's cooked his tires, whichever one is true, it's putting McKenzie in a tough spot here. Less than a half-second gap now. 3.5 minutes on the clock. And these laps are a little over a minute and a half. We'll look for where Gonzalo Fabi is, because he will determine the white flag. He's coming around the final corners now, and based on the timings, it will be 2 laps to go at Phillip Island for Fabi, for Saraleghi, but for Logan McKenzie, this is going to be tight. And looking back to the Delta class, oh, Tianyi Chang, we cut in right as he's making contact with Mark Darnell. He's gotten around Corey Lobner, but Darnell loses out in that contact. Jason Breen extending his Delta lead. Car off in front of him, that's Matt Zepka. So he will have a little bit of Alta traffic in front of him, slowing him down. JB DeJay gets back within 1 second of the Delta leader. Polasek going a bit wide on exit of turn 2, chasing Logan McKenzie now. Another 6/10 faster on the last lap. He's run out of tenths. He's got to pass McKenzie now. He's got a lap and a half to do it. Former teammates now going at it for different pieces of the Yellow Flag organization. McKenzie leading Yellow Tide. Polasek leading Yellow Flag. One of these yellow cars is going to win this race today. And now carnage back here for the Delta lead. Zepka off. Rhodes off. Breen and DeJay go through. That does not interrupt Breen too much. He's still got a 6/10 gap. We look back to McKenzie. He keeps Polasek behind him for this lap. So coming to the white flag, Bobby and Saraleghi are the lead cars on track, but it will be McKenzie and Polasek fighting for the lead on the final lap here at Phillip Island. Off the final corner, the gap is less than 0.3 of a second. And What will they do? Across the line to turn one, trying to break the toe. The gap is down to 0.2 of a second. Polasek right on the back bumper. McKenzie's going to hold this one tight so he can't get a nose in. On the exit of turn two, Polasek keeps it on track but doesn't have the momentum heading down to the next corner. He's going to lose out on one of two big opportunities to make a pass here. McKenzie will hold the middle of the track. He goes deep. Too deep. Can't hold the outside. It is now nearly a half-second gap for McKenzie. It looked like Polasek was trying to get alongside, try and keep McKenzie on the inside line through the hairpin, but just a little too deep on the brakes. Jason Breen has a 1 second gap over JB DJ in that battle. This battle, 0.4 of a second. And now just one final braking zone, and Polasek goes wide. He slides off track, and that will end the battle for the lead. Logan McKenzie, he led nearly every lap at Belle Isle, looked unstoppable in the season opener. Now another endurance challenge, another endurance win off the final corner for the Yellow Tide Racing driver. Logan McKenzie will win the first ever race at Phillip Island Circuit. Michael Polasek P2, Micah Hendricks P3. We look back to the battle here. John Lazon ekes out Raymond 2. And Fleet Smith comes back behind in 8th, Mayer 9th, Shink 10th. And now to the Delta lead. Breen still has a 1 second gap for Jason Breen. A little lap traffic ahead of him. It's not going to matter. Into the final corner for the SRG driver. He will bring home the victory at Phillip Island Circuit. Jason Breen survives, gets across the line, and wins the Delta class. JB DJ second place, and Nigel Honegger off the final corner will finish the Delta podium. And the rest of the field will come across the line now. Chang, Laudner, Darnell, Murray, McFarlane, Perez, Rick Meyer. That whole group finishes up now. What a race. Unfortunate for the ATR guys. They finished first and second on track, but it will be McKenzie who takes the victory after they fail to make their mandatory tire stop. Polasek nearly had him there on the final lap, but just not able to finish the job. After nearly 54 minutes of racing, McKenzie brings home his second victory of the season. Jason Breen with his first of the season. What a race it was. That's a fun circuit. These cars, very high speed for them. I mean, they are carrying so much momentum through turn one, through the final corner. The speeds we saw, the camera shots, it was amazing to see these drivers tackle this course. And I think start to finish, there was action throughout the field. There is your Delta winner, Jason Breen. We will get you the final results for this race now. McKenzie, Breen, they win at Phillip Island. Here are your final results. Logan McKenzie will bring home the victory here at Phillip Island. Fabi ended up finishing almost 5 seconds ahead of Sarah Leggy there at the end. I do think if they had finished their mandatory tire stops, Fabi would have won this race. Sarah Leggy and McKenzie and Polasek probably would have had it out for P2. But as it stands, McKenzie first, Polasek second, and Hendricks will round out the Alpha podium. Then you have Lazon 2, Smith, Mayer, Shink, Lynn, Carr, Bauer, Gorman, and Mitchell. Then you reach Jason Breen, your Delta winner on the day. He finishes just a second ahead of JB DJ. And then you have Justin Rhodes, Matt Zepka, Mike DeAlmeida, Nigel Honegger finishing off the Delta podium. Tianyi Chang, Corey Lobner, Darnell Murray, McFarland Perez, Rick Meyer, Lynn, and Saab round out the top 30. AC Goddard eventually finished 32nd, just behind Gilbert. Clavijo, 33rd overall, the first car off the lead lap. So in the end, he was at least able to stay on the lead lap despite the damage. You have Al Rijla, McAllister finishing 35th in his home race. You have Clark, Bramble, Fedorowski, Law, Kunz, and Stuckey. Well, that will do it from here at Phillip Island. After this, we will check out your updated championship standings. But from here in Australia, my name is Logan McKenzie. Thank you so much for watching the Alpha Touring Challenge, and have a good night.